Hello, and welcome to the 444 podcast, where we are for truth, for faith, and for you. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Perry, and with me today are a host of marvelous young cultural critics, the gentle and analytical Rebecca Bywaters,
Hi.
and then the charming and whimsical Mackenzie McKay.
Hello.
And then joining us remotely, we have the sweet and wise Krishna Facey.
Hello.
And then the stoic sage Zachariah Gill is joining us all the way from New Jersey.
Hello.
Zachariah, you're a regular. You're a regular. And then the bubbly Reagan Acuff is also joining us tonight. Say hello, Reagan.
Hello, everyone.
All right, awesome. And so let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be doing tonight. So on this podcast, we're going to be starting out by talking about how much people know and perceive about the Iran war. All right, we're still dealing with an Iran war, but we can have opinions, but how informed are we about all that's going on? So we've sent our reporters here out on the street to gather some interviews. We're going to play some of those for you, and we're going to see what people say, how well they answer the questions, and what their opinions are on some of the opinion questions. So then after we do all that, we'll spend some time with that. We'll transition, and we're going to look at some pop culture things. And we've got the Oscars that just happened this week. So I think our pop culture critics here are going to want to talk a little bit about the Oscars. They've certainly had some opinions, and we are going to transition to that later. But here we go. Let's go ahead and dive into our first example of someone who, or some people who have opinions or have knowledge about the Iran war situation.
It's a very nuanced question with a very nuanced answer. If I steal flour to make bread, it might still be good bread, but is the process of making it good? I don't know. In the same way, I think while Trump did draw upon other presidents' precedent in regards to using military power without congressional consent, I think this is kind of an unprecedented wave of that. So on one hand, institutionally, I think it's dangerous, and it sets a further dangerous precedence for later presidents. On the other hand, just like cost-benefit analysis, is it good that Iran is being neutered and neutralized? Overall, yeah. Do I want them to have a nuclear weapon? No. Their slogan is like death to America, death to Israel. So the fact that they're being neutralized is positive, but at what costs and what's the aftermath of that going to be like? We don't know. So only time will be able to tell.
No, he did not. I know I'm wearing my MAGA hat, but I'm not MAGA. It's just a really nice hat. Trump killed the leader, Ayatollah. He hasn't stopped bombing them. So there's obviously more agenda than just regime change over there. However, the regime change is not going to be oversaw by the American government. What's going to happen, this is my prediction, in maybe 5-6 weeks, Trump is going to say he completed their goal. They're going to withdraw almost entirely from Iran, and the regime change is just not going to happen. They're just going to instate the people who are very similar in power. The only difference now is that they're farther away from nuclear capabilities.
I do. I feel that he has America's best interest at heart. He's trying to protect our country, and if he didn't strike now, it's just going to lead into future attacks by Iran on American people because of their thoughts and views of the Western civilization.
We have started out with a video here on the question of whether or not Trump was right to do what he did and begin the war in Iran. So we've certainly heard some variety of viewpoints here. So I don't know, what do you want to discuss about these folks' ideas here?
I think they all kind of cover the bases and all the different kind of things that we could and we should consider when making, an opinion about this. One individual, I think it was Tim Bianca, mentioned, whether or not regime change was going to happen after the fact. And that was obviously a very important thing to bring up because, it ties into just war theory and about whether or not something is just. And one of the criteria for that is whether or not there is concrete plans to restore a new regime when they have done away with the past one. So I think they all offered interesting things to consider.
And I definitely, even considering what Daniel said, he had mentioned well, are we going to take somebody else's flour and then make our own bread, like that type of analogy. But I think thinking back through the history of what Americans have gone through concerning Iran, I believe that America also had a substantial, like they had a reason to go to war with Iran as well as Israel, and I don't fully think that it was that it was just Israel's deal. So there's a lot there.
Yeah. Reagan, I think this is the one, I think you actually talked to these folks. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. And I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me was the fact that they all seemed well informed. Like they were kind of people that I knew more about the government and politics and stuff. And so it was kind of selective in that way, but they're also just a wide variety of people. And so I just thought it was really cool that all their answers did have a variety of, like Daniel Johner kept saying, nuances to it and different things like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that there was they probably represent a pretty good cross section of the opinions in society. The first interview you did there, the young man, he kind of was like, the process is bad, but I don't disagree with maybe what the outcome's supposed to be. He seemed to like the idea of we need to get rid of this regime, but he just doesn't think Trump was doing it the right way. Do you guys agree with that? Is that?
Hmm. It's difficult. It is very nuanced, right? I think a lot of us don't want to step on any toes because this is a huge deal. It's difficult for me to think that the regime would have ended with the Ayatollah being murdered. I think it's a little more systematic than that. So it's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah, in Venezuela, he got rid of Maduro, and the vice president became the new president.
Yeah.
And so it's like, could that have also happened in Iran? Obviously, it seems to be working in Venezuela. Clearly, they didn't think that would be the case in. I'm sorry, it seems to be working in Venezuela. Is that what I said? It doesn't look like they think the same thing would have been true in Iran.
Well, and that's what even Trump was saying. He said, please get a new leader in. Like, the people of Iran need to unite in order to get a new leader so that this regime can completely be, in a sense, dissolved.
Yeah.
I guess.
And considering like, what, that one person said about, approving of the attack because of, the dynamics between Iran and America right now, versus the way he went about it. It definitely is something to consider, especially because, the president's duty is to, support and defend the citizens of America. And when a country who is very expressive of their hate of America and calls out for, as was said, death to all Americans, it elevates the conflict that is going on in the Middle East to be something that directly relates to the American safety. Because if they develop a nuclear weapon, I think that poses a serious threat for the president to consider and take preemptive action. Although, the way he went about it, every president will be different depending on the severity of the issue that they perceive. So it is kind of a complex consideration.
Yeah, definitely complex. I hear some people say as soon as the first nuclear missile goes off, then the whole world is destroyed because everyone else will launch theirs. Maybe. I don't know. But certainly we have a different worldview where we have, when it was the US and Russia, mutually assured destruction prevented us from doing anything. The question is whether the worldview of the radical Islamist state that runs Iran would be like mutually assured destruction's fine, we all go to heaven. I don't know if they would have that same restraint, I guess. So yeah, it is tough. Let's see what some more opinions are. I don't know what our next video is, but let's see what we've got.
If the president told members of Congress ahead of time, do you think the initial attack would have still been able to surprise Iran?
So in a matter of war, these would have been closed door discussions. I don't believe that if there was a vote or if it really was a matter of war and this was something that needed to happen, it would have persisted and it would have been done so in a way that operational security would have been considered. And I think Iran would have still been taken by surprise.
Probably. Unless they somehow would have known about, like, if he had met with Congress. I would hope that the meetings are a little bit more confidential.
Yeah, I think he should have told them, but I think that either way, it still would have surprised Iran.
Okay, so we heard some interesting thoughts there from folks that really were kind of believing that it would have stayed confidential. Are they on target?
Absolutely. We would hope that that Congress would keep things confidential. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. And obviously that doesn't mean that what Trump did was necessarily like morally good. However, I think it makes it more understandable as to why he did what he did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, believing that Congress would have complete confidentiality and that the attack would not be leaked is a worthy belief to have. We all want to think the best of our government, but oftentimes what we perceive from the outside of government rooms is not actually what reality is. And I think that Trump is well familiar with the dangers of leakage. And I think that, he was acting very, very,
It's
I guess,
difficult.
yeah, I guess
It's
Trump, yeah. Trump was very, thinking ahead, considering all of his options. And, whether or not that overthinking or that thinking ahead could be considered overthinking is something that, a lot of people have different opinions on.
Yeah, for sure. And so, Krishna, I know I think you talked to these people. I guess the question is, are the politicians all just solid statespeople, like statesmen, stateswomen, that they would do what's best for the country, doesn't matter which political party that they're part of, or do you think there might be some challenge there?
I think there may be some challenge. It wasn't my video, but I think it's interesting because people are saying Congress should know, but they still trust that something like this could remain confidential. So there's this idea that both can kind of.
All right. Zechariah, do you agree?
I mean, I guess I understand that the hope is that it could be confidential, but oftentimes it's not really, I guess, the case. And again, this was like a very coordinated attack. So even one leak would have ruined everything. You know what I mean? So I understand why Trump was so secretive about it, why he didn't want to tell Congress beforehand. Because again, that wasn't really like a risk that was worth taking.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's a tough call. Like the leader has to make the call. And this is why I think we have the legislation that allows the president to take action for up to 60 days before they get congressional approval. But wow, you've dedicated a lot of resources to something with no approval. So, it's difficult. I meant to do it. I before we got on here tonight, I was interested in how much money we've already spent in Iran versus how much money was spent just giving donations to Ukraine for the war. Because I kind of think we have spent a lot more money in Ukraine than we have in Iran, but I don't know that that's true. I mean, I'd be curious. So something for the future, I guess. Well, let's go ahead and look at some more opinions and ideas about Iran.
Okay. So what violation of American interests occurred at the start of Khomeini's 47-year rule while Jimmy Carter was the U.S. president?
Oh, man. Well, yeah, again, I'm not super familiar with that. I know that on a general basis, Iran has consistently violated agreements related to developing nuclear weapons. I know that they've sponsored terrorist organizations all over the world. Those would be the things that would come to mind. But if you're looking for something more specific, I'm not totally sure.
So at the start of Khomeini's 47-year rule, like while Jimmy Carter was president, that was when Iran captured the 52 Americans and held them as hostages.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you know how long they were held as hostages before they were released?
The 52 hostages, I believe it was it 39 days?
No, it was 444 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was for a long time. So what had happened with when Jimmy Carter was president essentially was that Iran captured 52 Americans and he held them as hostages. And I wanted to then ask you, because like,
Sorry,
no, it's okay.
I went on a whole tangent.
No, you're good. Like this is really good. Do you know how long the Americans were kidnapped for? Like how long they were held hostage before they were released?
No, I did not.
They were held hostage for like 444 days. And that was literally the day that Ronald Reagan had his inauguration was when they were released. What violation of American interests occurred at the start of Khomeini's 47-year rule while Jimmy Carter was the U.S. president?
Am I correct in my memory that it was nuclear power production and mainly nuclear military production?
Yes, a lot of that was going on, but also like Iran captured 52 Americans and then
Yeah.
held them as hostages.
That
which-
was also an issue. I do remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
You're bringing back my like 6th grade memory.
how long were Americans who were kidnapped by Khomeini uprising held before they were released?
Was it? I'm gonna throw out a guess from what I remember. Was it about a year? Or was
You
it
know what?
longer or shorter?
Yeah, a year and 444 days.
Yeah.
So like a year and
And if you had like almost 100 extra days, a year and like 3 months
Yeah.
or so.
So it's interesting that he's like in 6th grade. I learned that. I'm like, I'm surprised they were teaching kids about the Iran hostage crisis in 6th grade, but maybe they were. I think I'm the only one here that is old enough to remember that. And all the people you interviewed were way younger. But Mackenzie, anyway, these are folks you talked to.
Absolutely. They gave a lot of good information. I found that the common thing with these three people was that they were very, unlike the first person I interviewed, they were very against the war happening, but they were ignorant of what had happened with Iran concerning the hostages. So I found that to be kind of interesting because I think if more people knew about this, which this is common knowledge, right? But I think if more people kind of knew, okay, Iran, they don't like us. They don't like us. They haven't liked us for a long time. This has been, 40, 50 years in the making, right? It doesn't mean that
The ruling group in Iran doesn't like us. We could say that
Absolutely.
more accurately, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, I found that to be a common thing, that people who were more unsure about this war happening, they were ignorant of those things happening prior.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and we have one more that's related to the war.
Would you support President Trump sending ground troops into Iran?
No, I do not support it. One, I don't support it because I feel like we're kind of putting our nose in somebody else's business. I feel like it's not our war to fight. And I feel like with war, we're going to deal with just losing lives on both sides. So I feel like with it being a war, that's not necessarily our fight. That's not something that's necessary. And then the last reason, I feel like Iran has a terrain that we're not familiar with. So I feel like that war could end up being like a real tragedy on our end.
So would you support President Trump sending ground troops into Iran?
Yes. Yes, if he felt necessary, I think it should be done.
It should be done.
I would support it.
Would you support President Trump sending ground troops into Iran?
I do not support that. One, because my mom did 25 years in the Army. That was hard for the military family, especially her children. We were going through it with President Bush, hearing the whole thing with Iraq and the States, so I don't support that. Two, President Trump is making his own decision. He thinks that it's a problem without understanding the American people. So no, I would never support that.
Okay, this may be one of the most controversial questions, right? Like, would you send ground troops in? Would you support that? And so, Krishna, these are the ones you actually talked to, I think, right? I think I picked the wrong video earlier. So, yeah, just maybe you want to have some comments on what they had to say.
Yes, I like this one because I think this kind of shows how people's opinions are shaped by their experiences, not just like the situation itself. And the last response, especially, she was very personal. So I think it's a very controversial topic depending on people's experiences and what they've personally got.
Yeah. Gone through, I think we missed the last word, but yes. The second guy, I just want to give you a comment, the compliment of waiting long enough for him to actually expand on what he had to say. Good trick there to get someone to speak up a little more. But it is a question like let's just turn this around. So there's these comments that are like America, it's like, why should we send our troops over there to help them? So if we go back to the American Revolution, and if France said the same thing, what happens in the American Revolution? What would it be called today?
Failed rebellion, maybe.
The failed rebellion. That's right. We're a country that benefited. The only reason we exist is because another country stepped in to help. So does that add any flavor to that? I don't know. It's just what just came to mind as I was listening to these people talk.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a factor. And I also think, as America is very powerful and it has a lot of military might. And, when we see injustice happening somewhere across the globe, even like what's going on in the Middle East, where the rights that we hold dear are being violated, I think, there's a certain level of responsibility, or at least, importance for us to stand up for the principles that we hold dear and that define our own country and our Constitution. So yes, I agree. I think that there is some element to it that isn't just black and white. Do we send them and hurt ourselves, or do we save ourselves and hold back?
Yeah, and even you had mentioned the American Revolution because that was kind of happening. And even I think it was Alexander Hamilton who told Jefferson, we'd be going into every war if we were to step into every war that was happening all across the world, right? I want America to have the discernment to, if we are supposed to step in with things or if we're not supposed to step into things. And I think we're learning that as we go. Yeah.
Excellent point. For sure. When we think about why we go to war and the rationale for going to war, the primary and a lot of the news discussion is American interests. Like Americans shouldn't go to war unless there's American interests involved. So that's a big weight. And so we could look at countries like what's happened in Haiti or what happens in Ecuador or what happens in Nigeria or whatever. And people could say, well, we don't have much interest there. The only interest we really have in Iran is the fact that they were building weapons that could eventually reach us, right? That's kind of the big oil obviously is a big thing too, but we put that at risk even by just going to war there. So it's not an easy question, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to just champion one cause here, but there's a lot of concern there. Well. Yeah. All right, this has been great talking about this, but we want to get on to something a little more exciting for some people, the Oscars, right? And we have some pop culture things. So I'm going to step back, actually. We'll make a little transition here. And the mental maestro, Sarah Beth Gossett, is going to come up here, and she's going to take my seat. And we're going to have everybody look at some videos from pop culture.
So in this next section, we're going to be transitioning into our pop culture section. The Oscars happened this last week, and there have been a lot of clips that have gone around the internet. Some are heartwarming, some are a little more controversial, and we would like to talk about them. So first, let's clip concerning, we have a clip concerning Ethan Hawke making comments at the red carpet at the Oscars.
Larry Hart, who you play in your movie, he's a fool for unrequited love, I would say. Do you have any advice for someone who also has a bit of an unrequited love theme in their life?
The one who's in love always wins.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you get your heart broken. You're living. When you're feeling, you're alive. The sun doesn't care whether the grass appreciates its rays, right? It just keeps on shining. That's you.
That's actually, I'm going to get that tattooed on my forehead, I think.
So many things to say. I don't even know what to say first. What do you think?
Well, I'm curious to see what your guys' opinions are on the sentiment that he communicated as a married woman and a soon-to-be married woman. What did you think of his idea of love?
Well, unfortunately, the context is that this man previously cheated on his wife. So This is at first might not seem like a controversial clip. It might just seem like he's giving some nice advice, but it's interesting to hear his words about what it means to be in love, knowing that he personally decided to not fulfill his commitment to his wife. So
That's what's odd. And even like you said, the clip alone is just, it's inspirational. He's been in a ton of awesome films, like particularly coming of age films. And so you watch them and you're like, oh my gosh, they're awesome. Like he's a great actor, but what he's saying here kind of contradicts like what he has kind of done with his own life. I mean, he cheated on his wife with their, I think his daughter's nanny.
like a housemaid or something like that. It's
Right.
crazy.
It doesn't look good for him. Krishna, what do you think?
Well, I didn't know the backstory in him because I was originally going to say I liked his short and sweet answer. He got straight to the point. But now that I know all of that, maybe I should take it back.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a great point that, context is important. And oftentimes in these short clips that circulate on media, context is not offered. And I certainly agree. I think his sentiment was on the surface level very sweet and very metaphorically inspirational. So I'm sure you were not the only one who got the same impression from that video.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that just goes to show that a lot of people really glamorize Hollywood stars, and
Yes.
also anything they say will just take as advice. But we don't know based off of their movies or even clips of them being interviewed what's really going on behind the scenes. And obviously, in this case, he was exposed in the news, but for all the other celebrities out there, we don't know what their true character is when we're taking their personal advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just like even from a biblical perspective, we need to know like what is their fruit? Like if it is good for us to eat, they're going to live their lives in a holy and in an integrous way. And unfortunately that was not Ethan Hawke. God bless him though. But
Don't get that tattooed on you. Like
yeah,
the interview.
dash Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
So moving into our more heartwarming clip, we'll have Rebecca take over and talk about a sweet speech at the Oscars concerning motherhood.
Yeah, so let's play it. It's a speech by Jessie Buckley, winning the Best Actress in a Leading Role Oscar award. Roll the clip.
Thank you so much. This is this is really something. Thank you to the incredible women that I stand beside. I am inspired by your art and your heart, and I want to work with every single one of you. To the producers who created this ship for us to stand in, and my shipmates for life, Hilda, Jessica, Lindy, Zach, none of this is possible without you. My family, my Irish family, they're all here. Ireland bought them flights. Where are you? Can you just... Mom, Dad, thank you for teaching us to dream and to never be defined by expectation, but to carve from your own passion. You, Fred, I love you, man. I love you. You're the most incredible dad. You're my best friend, and I want to have 20,000 more babies with you. I do. I do. And Isla, my little girl who is 8 months, who has absolutely no idea what's going on and is probably dreaming of milk. But this is kind of a big deal. And I love you, and I love being your mom, and I can't wait to discover life beside you. Chloe.
Ooh, beautiful.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I thought it was very heartfelt, and she used many different metaphors in her speech, which I think, is a tool that maybe a lot of speech providers use when they have a time limit, because you could pack a lot of meaning into short segments of words. I thought it was very impactful. She referenced carving from your own passion, which in this case she did, because as a mother herself, this award was given to her for playing a mother. And in that case, she very much did carve into her own passion. Later on, she discusses or she dedicates her award to all of the mothers out there and the beautiful chaos that lives in their hearts. And I thought that was very beautiful and a very heartwarming sentiment about motherhood, and that specifically that beauty and chaos do not have to be mutually exclusive. And often, when combined in a mother's heart, they can be strengthening or just something very beautiful and unique to mothers. So it was interesting to see, her own experience influencing her art and her appreciation for art and the way she describes her art. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, that was one of the most raw and vulnerable Oscar winnings I've ever seen personally. Like that one, I don't think I've ever had any that like really touched my heart in that way. Sarah Beth, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it was very inspiring as us all sitting here and talking as women and some of the women online joining us, because it can be daunting to think about having a career and being a mother. And so this is really inspiring to see her win this award, especially like you were saying, the movie Hamnet, she played the mother and she lost one of her children in that movie, but she also raised her other children. And so she just delivered an amazing, incredible performance about motherhood. So it's really inspiring to see her as an actual mother playing that part and thanking her family and just being so family oriented while also obviously being incredibly talented. So,
And it was also very refreshing to see women celebrating motherhood as well. I think one of you mentioned that as well. I think that's very awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything to say?
Yeah, I just want to tag on to what Sarah Beth was saying about how empowering it is. Because oftentimes women feel like once they're a mother, their life's kind of over. Like they can't also have a career at the same time. And so to see her like be celebrated as an actress and as a mother and like not have to choose between her loves, but get to like have everything and just live a beautiful life and be a wonderful mother, but then also like have this creative outlet and excel in it is just wonderful to see.
Yeah, that's great. And
I agree with you,
Zachariah,
Reagan. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was gonna say I agree
no,
with you,
please go
Reagan.
ahead.
Because
Go
I think as
ahead.
women, we kind of focus on one thing, oh, let's get this education, or let me be a mother, or let me be a good wife. But to see her, she was just so inspiring, and it kind of makes you tell yourself like, you know what, it is okay. Like as women, we are not only women, honestly, but as people, it's okay to do multiple things at the same time and succeed.
Absolutely. Zachariah, I know that you're not going to ever be a mother, but you have a mother. You have a mother. So I was wondering what your thoughts were on this, as a person, watching their parents live.
I mean, like I guess I've seen my mom have to sacrifice a lot of like what she wants just to like, raise me and stuff like that, my other siblings. So I mean, it's cool that this lady was able to win like an Oscar and like she can kind of have like everything at once, you know what I mean? Like she doesn't have to sacrifice her love for film and stuff like that to be a mother, and she doesn't have to sacrifice her, like I guess being a mother for a film. Like she can do everything at once is what I'm trying to say. So I think that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is very inspiring. So our last clip is one of the most controversial clips, I would argue, of this last week. And it's going to star Timothée Chalamet, so let's take it away.
And I don't want to be working in ballet or opera or, things where it's like, hey, keep this thing alive, even though no one cares about this anymore. All respect to the ballet and opera people out there. I just lost 14 cents in viewership. But, damn, I just took shots for no reason.
That's not a shot. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. So.
Oh man,
boy.
There's a
So-
lot to unpack here, guys.
Yeah, he pretty much he has been roasted over social media. This clip kind of went viral before the Oscars took place, and now people are saying, oh, maybe he got snubbed at the Oscars because of it. But also he just has been getting roasted on Instagram. People who are in ballet and in opera have been making videos and tagging him and basically showing him the art that is still alive. So
Yeah, and I know you mentioned earlier about, this isn't a new thing to hear from Timothée Chalamet, so I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, so he started, and what's interesting is he doesn't just say like ballet or opera. He says like ballet and opera. And he's always been talking about like those two art mediums since like 2019. And so you ought to think, okay, has he dated somebody from there and his heart's broken, or is he just trying to deviate from that? I mean, I think like Professor Perry had mentioned, he might just be diverting into his own kind of medium, which would be film. And it's one thing for him to just mention his opinion, right? Because he's like, okay, I don't want the film industry to ultimately become less popular like ballet and opera has. However, it was, I don't know, there's a lot here. There's a lot here.
Yeah, there certainly is. And, I think that context, plays a key role here. And, was that an offhanded comment or was it repeated for years? And, obviously, like you said, everyone can have their opinion, but in the art world, you can get a lot of heat from saying something like that, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of tact for someone who is incredibly famous. Incredibly famous. What do our online folks think? If you guys think anything.
I mean, like, I think I'll be honest, I do kind of find it funny how he's been saying this since 2019. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of funny. But I mean, like, like people who are in ballet or opera, they're probably just as passionate about that art as he is about film and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's kind of like a pointless comment, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Famous. To be careful what you say, because it's going to be on the internet forever because it's your words.
Absolutely. And even considering like his grandmother was, what was it? Like they were involved in like the New York ballet type thing.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah, his grandmother, mother, and then his sister. And so what is like, is he saying that like relevant art is inherently better than art that is meant to be preserved? Like what is he trying to communicate here? And he may not be trying to communicate anything at all. He might just be trying to say his opinion like you've mentioned, but we can go a little deeper here.
I mean, I think part of the reason that it's so offensive to people is because he is an Oscar-nominated actor. So obviously, he cares a lot about art and he's very excellent in his craft as being an actor. So for him to kind of disregard these art forms, which most of society would agree are a very high form of art, can be very offensive. And I think that one of the things I saw in the videos kind of responding to him and tagging him was saying that a lot of people don't go to opera and ballet because the tickets are so expensive, which just proves that it's a high form of art and everyone gets dressed up to go to these events. Whereas, again, they were kind of roasting his movies like Marty Supreme, you pay $15 for a ticket to see the movie. So I think that's part of the reason people got so riled up is because he is a very well-known and respected actor and he's kind of hating on these other forms of art.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think somebody, as you said, somebody in his caliber, you would think he would be more careful about what he says and be more respectful about other arts. And it kind of shows that it seems like he's not. So I think that's why everybody was dragging him so much.
Right. And I even think about, because he has made comments similar to that since 2019. I'm wondering, like, why is it now that people are getting so riled up about this when he has made similar comments in the past? I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have another video after that?
I don't think we do.
I don't think so.
We're good. So, well, that is all we have today. Thank you for tuning in and staying with us to the end. If you would like to hear more from us, subscribe to the 444 podcast below. Our podcast is a product of the Journalism and Communication Studies Department of Regent University, where we discuss truth and faith within the context of public media, all to serve you, our audience. Follow along with us as we look at new topics relevant to you every week. And in the meantime, be on the lookout for faith and truth, or lack thereof, in your own interactions with public culture and journalism. As always, we will leave you with this: seek the Lord, seek the truth, and have a great week.
I grabbed that last.